So, definitions of the true truth. How do we define it? Okay, it's not getting any easier. Sorry. It's just going along, it gets harder and harder. But never mind, I'm in Israel, I'm confident. I believe in your ability to understand things. So, the definitions of the true truth. Now there's a definition given. It's not just the etymology, but there's a definition given. And that definition is given from the point of view of two different minds. I've said it already. Two minds that realize their objects. Valid cognizers. There's the conventional valid cognizer and the ultimate valid cognizer. Okay, sounds already a little bit familiar? So a mind that realizes its object. My eye consciousness can perceive the existence of this truck, and it's a valid mind. Even though this truck appears to be inherently existent, it doesn't matter. It's just the appearance. Other than that, I can totally know, incontrovertibly, this is a truck. Okay? So, conventional truth is explained from the point of view of a conventional mind that realizes its object. It works in its own sphere. Ultimate reality or ultimate truth is explained from the point of view of an ultimate mind. Again, that works in its own sphere. They don't contradict each other. They don't contradict each other. It's important to understand. Okay, so conventional truths are found or realized by conventional valid cognizers, whereas ultimate truths are found or realized by ultimate valid cognizers. This is a new word here. A valid cognizer finds its object. Finds. Please remember that word. It's important. To find. My eye consciousness finds the truck, as in it realizes the truck. Alright? I may not know where the truck is first, right? It may actually really be literally searching, and then I find it. I know it. I realize it. Okay? Finding it. That's the word. It's important. You'll see why it's important to use this word. So my eye consciousness finds it, knows the truck. And it's a truck that exists. As a convention, we have agreed on this is a truck. There's a basis of imputation, as I explained before. On the basis of that, I call this a truck. So we all agree. So it's a truck. It's conventionally a truck. Okay. And then there's the mind that realizes the emptiness of this truck. Again, that works through. I mean, that mind does not contradict the conventional mind. It doesn't contradict it. It does not realize that the truck doesn't exist. Okay? That's important. So, even though the eye consciousness that perceives the truck is mistaken, just with respect to the appearance, but it still functions, right? I mean, my eye consciousness that perceives the reflection of my face in the mirror. The reflection appears to be my face, but still I can shave. Well, no, I don't, but the guys can, oh yeah, shave that way, yeah, okay. I was thinking that way. But you know, I can still shave, you can still shave, right? It's because it's only mistaken with respect to the appearance, but it can still, it still knows this is not. Right? It knows this is a face. It knows the face. It's just the appearance that is incorrect. Okay? So likewise, with that eye consciousness. So, both are incontrovertible knowers, and they don't contradict each other. Very important to understand. And so here, a mind that realizes the ultimate meditative equipoise, that supreme mind that I've been talking about before, it realizes the ultimate truth of the truck. It does not realize the truck. Okay? It does not apprehend the truck. It doesn't do that. The truck doesn't even appear to it. But, and the only phenomenon that appears to it is the truck's lack of inherent existence. Only the ultimate nature of this truck appears. But, even though the car neither appears nor is found or realized by that ultimate mind, it does not mean the car does not exist. Because if it's not found, it doesn't mean, you see, not being found by an ultimate analysis does not mean it doesn't exist. That's important. Is your butt solved or?
No.
Can you keep it?
Yeah.
Keep it, okay. So, it is important to understand that there's a difference between not being found and being refuted by an ultimate mind. Okay? The car is not found by ultimate analysis because it's not being searched for. Ultimate analysis. What does it search for? It doesn't actually search for the car. It searches for some inherently existing car. Okay? And what does it find? The lack of inherent existence of the car. That's what's being found. Right? It looks for some inherent intrinsic car. It does not look for the car. You think it looks for the car. But looking for a car means to look back and just go, okay, there's a conventionally existing car. That's it. To look, oh, how exactly? You stop looking for the car. You look for an inherently existent car. And that cannot be found. That's the object that is searched for. Therefore, we say the mind that realizes the lack of inherent existence of this truck does not refute the truck. It's never been looking for the truck. It refutes the inherent existence of the truck. It finds the lack of inherent existence of the truck. Does that make sense? So, therefore we can say the truck exists. It's only the inherently existent truck that doesn't exist. Okay? Because the truck has never been refuted by that mind. Okay. Likewise, the I consciousness does not refute the existence of the inherent existence, the existence of the emptiness of this truck. Does not refute that. Okay? So therefore the emptiness, they don't refute each other. They don't contradict each other. They support each other. Okay. Very important. Therefore the two truths also support each other. One is only possible because of the other. Emptiness is form. Form is emptiness. I'll explain this down here. It explains exactly that. The Heart Sutra. The 4 profundities. Emptiness is, form is emptiness. Emptiness is form. Form is not other than emptiness. Emptiness also is not other than form. So this is explained down here. And this basically just explains that they support each other. And one is only possible because of the other. Okay. So, please note, okay, this is important. Please note that a direct realization of emptiness is radically different from any realization we are acquainted with. Very different. If you realize emptiness, you'll have an experience you have never had before. So they say, of course. I mean, I talk as if I knew. I mean, as I said, I'm honest, I'm not modest, I'm honest about this. I've just overcome the doubt about inherent existence. That's about it. Honestly, I don't have a correct perception here. I can do the words, I've learned, I've been trained in that. But that's why you can learn from me just the words, but to really realize it, you need to rely on someone who's realizing it. Eventually, you can only rely on a person, like receive teachings by someone who's homeless, like as homeless the Dalai Lama, as homeless the Karmapa, Sakya Rinpoche, and so forth. These are the people who I'm 100% sure, or I'm convinced they have realized emptiness directly. So eventually, we need to receive teachings from them. Okay, so just to kind of get familiar with the words, because that is so hard. That's why it's radically different. I cannot imagine it. I cannot even imagine it realizing conceptually. It is hard. But just because it's hard, it doesn't mean it's impossible. And it's the only way. It's actually quite sad. There's so many Buddhists in this world. I've been thinking in my room today, how many do I think have realized emptiness? Maybe 100? Of 7 billion people? I think 100 may even be a lot. But let's say it's 100. It's that difficult. It's that difficult. But it doesn't mean, it doesn't matter. Right? It doesn't matter just because it's a few. I mean, just us listening to this explanation, how few are there in this whole world? How few are there who actually take the time to hear about this? Most people find it very scary. It's scary, right? Oh, sorry, yeah. Can it wait, or?
Yes.
If it's like a clarification, then I'm happy to.
It's a parallel with the phenomenologists of the West, Derrida, Levinas, Kant, who talk about the phenomenology of non-existence.
I'm not familiar with Kant. I won't be able to explain. I mean,
but it is almost a parallel.
Oh, interesting. Yes, I mean, I think there are a lot of parallels. I mean, great thinkers in the past, I think they've basically, yeah, come to something very similar. And now when you read certain texts, maybe previously we didn't understand the intent, but when we read it now with that understanding, we may look at things a little different and go, whoa, this sounds pretty much, I mean, maybe the Kabbalah, right? I mean, let's read that again and see whether there's an explanation on emptiness. I mean, and here's a lot of similarity, especially, yeah, I think you said it, Shuni, about the Kabbalah and Tantra. Is this the wind?
Yes.
Good. Okay. Anyway, all right. Pardon? Empty?
Right.
It's not empty.
Right.
It's wet. Yeah, it's wet. It's wet. It's only wet. It's empty of inherent existence, but
Maybe you send them outside to see if it's empty.
yeah, let's go outside and see whether it's really non-existent. Okay, so the definition. All right, what's the definition? The definition of the conventional truth is, and again, it sounds very like it sounds like a circular argument, but never mind. It is the object found by a conventional valid cognizer, and in dependence on it, on that conventional truth, such a valid cognizer becomes a conventional valid cognizer. Sounds like cheating. I know, it sounds like cheating, but I'm giving you the definition the way I've learned it. Okay? Never mind. It becomes more apparent when you study this further. Okay? So, oh sorry, which page are we on? 11. 11 in the English and then the... 11 in the English, yeah. And then the Hebrew, I'm not sure.
12.
12. In the Hebrew it's 12. Okay. Alright. So to explain the different aspects of the definition. This is something that our texts don't do that. They just give a definition and we need to figure it out. Right? And it just takes some time. Usually through the debate we figure it out. But it's basically the object found by a conventional valid cognizer. What does that mean? A conventional truth is an object found or realized by a valid cognizer. So like a valid cognizer, for example, this truck, it's a conventional truth because it's found by a specific awareness, by a mind that realizes it, which is the eye consciousness realizing the truck. Right? What we said before. So its main object, okay, since the car is realized by the valid cognizer, the car is found by that. So, you know, this truck is a conventional truth because it is found, it is known by a valid cognizer, conventional valid cognizer. And then that valid cognizer, in dependence on the truck, it becomes a conventional valid cognizer. Right? So the conventional truth is a conventional truth because it is known by a conventional mind. And that conventional mind, in turn, is a conventional mind because it perceives that. It's kind of like A is B because it's B and B is B. It's a little, it seems like cheating.
Just
right?
a funny way of putting it.
It's just a funny way of putting it, yes.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is the only way to describe it in, how else would you describe it? In a few words, how would you define it?
You could define it without the second part, but then emptiness wouldn't be inside.
Oh, okay, that's very interesting.
When you're saying that
It is found by a conventional
truth
yeah.
is dependent upon a conventional mind.
Yes.
And the conventional mind is dependent upon the conventional truth. Then,
Yeah.
you point at the emptiness of both in the definition. I think this is the importance.
That's a nice way of looking at it. Yes, the interdependence. And therefore, indirectly, you show their lack of inherent existence. Very good. That's very good. That's a good way of looking at it. There is another reason.
Stop in the middle.
There is another reason. There's one other reason, but if I tell you that reason, I really confuse you. You want to be confused?
Yes.
Oh, great. That's the right attitude. Okay. All right. You see, it is given in our scriptures. Someone gives a different definition, which is a conventional truth is an object that is found by a conventional valid cognizer. Full stop. That's the definition given. Then the definition of an ultimate truth, it's explained as it is an object found by an ultimate valid cognizer. Okay? There's a problem. Because a Buddha's mind perceives both. Therefore, it would follow that it's both. They're not contradictory. Okay? I could have said, and there he's right, I could have said actually it is an object found by a sentient being's conventional valid cognizer. Then I wouldn't have the problem with the Buddha. But then I really like his explanation. Every time people hit me with these remarks, they suddenly have this understanding. I never even thought about that. He's right, he's absolutely right. The reason why, one reason would be to see how this interdependence takes place. Right? It becomes clear how these phenomena are interdependent, and it helps us in our understanding. Very good reason. Okay. It is important to understand that even though find conventional for their realizing, okay. So even though I say the eye consciousness perceives, it finds a conventional truth, it finds a conventional truth because it finds a truck which is a conventional truth. But it doesn't mean that I know this is a conventional truth. Okay? I don't even necessarily know that. My eye consciousness knows the truck. Therefore I say it's a conventional valid cognizer. But to know that this is a conventional truth, I must realize emptiness. I must realize that this object is false. And in order to be able to say that it's false, I must have realized why it is false. Because it lacks inherent existence. That's important. So there's a difference between saying, I realize conventional truth, and I realize something to be a conventional truth. There's a difference. Right? I realize a truck. I realize a conventional truth because I realize a truck. But I'm not sure, I don't know that this is, right? Conventional truth. I don't know that.
Because you have nothing to compare it to?
Because I haven't realized, I don't realize that this is a false object, a falsity. I don't understand that this doesn't exist the way it appears.
So even if you understand it logically, you can't really know it until you're
oh, if you understand it intellectually, then you can, yeah. To know intellectually means you realize it intellectually. Then you can know that it's an ultimate conventional truth. Right? You see, okay, let me say, if someone tells me a lie, I cannot know.
It's a lie if you don't know the truth.
Yeah, I mean, the part of it that is true and the part of it that is wrong. I cannot know the part of it that is true unless I'm able to refute that part that is a lie. Okay? So I don't really know what it is exactly unless I know what I need to negate. So likewise, before I know this is actually a false object, something that appears in one way but exists in a different way, I need to know that it doesn't exist inherently. If I know it doesn't exist inherently, then I can know that it appears to be inherently existent, but doesn't exist that way. Right? And that is understanding that is false. That is a conventional truth. Okay. Great. I'm actually really impressed. I mean, every time last year was the same thing. We talked about selflessness last time. And honestly, this is rare that I get people who have these insights. It's really impressive. And yeah, all the way through, especially when it comes to emptiness. There's some quick understanding. Okay, the definition of the ultimate truth. The definition of the ultimate truth is it is the object found by an ultimate value cognizer and in dependence on it, on that ultimate truth, such a value cognizer becomes an ultimate value cognizer. Similar, right? Okay. So, I guess don't need to explain that much. So an ultimate value cognizer is an awareness whose main object is an ultimate truth. When an ultimate value cognizer searches, for instance, for an inherently existent car, among the bases of imputation of the car or the truck, the cognizer does not find the inherently existent car or the car itself, but finds the ultimate truth, the emptiness of inherent existence of the car. Right? That's found by an ultimate value cognizer, the emptiness of this car. Thus, the ultimate truth, the truck's emptiness of inherent existence, is the object that is found and realized by that ultimate cognizer. Right? Okay. And in dependence on that, that value cognizer, that mind, becomes an ultimate value cognizer. Okay, because in dependence on becomes that. Independence on the ultimate truth of the car, the value cognizer that apprehends the ultimate truth of the car becomes an ultimate awareness. So that's the same as before. Hence, an ultimate value cognizer is an ultimate value cognizer in dependence on its main object. Okay, all right. Now, I said it becomes more difficult. Conventional truth versus conventionally existent. And ultimate truth versus ultimately existent. Now, this is a very common phenomenon. You will find in the scriptures that you use one word in a way that seems so similar that it seems contradictory. Why is this done? This is done a lot. The two truths are different natures, but they are of one nature. Sounds very similar. This car, the emptiness of the car is an ultimate truth, but it does not exist ultimately. It sounds like, what? It seems like a contradiction here.
Can you repeat it?
Yes, and it will be in here anyway. I mean, it'll come again. I don't need to actually, but for example, the conventional truth, this truck and its emptiness are different natures, but they are of one nature. It will be explained. Sounds very contradictory. It's done on purpose. I could have used a different word. Actually, Gila, she emailed me and she said, can I not use a different word? It seems very contradictory. But in Tibetan, it's the same word. Anyway, never mind, I can't even. So, anyway, but the point is, like, it says every phenomenon has two natures, has two mo, but they are of one nature, mojik. Mo is the word for nature. Okay. Likewise, for example, here, our example here, there's a difference between conventional truth and conventionally existent. If something is a conventional truth, it doesn't have to conventionally exist. It has to conventionally exist. But if it's conventionally existent, it doesn't have to be a conventional truth. For example, an ultimate truth. It's not a conventional truth, but it exists conventionally. So it seems to be contradictory. For example, the ultimate truth of this truck exists conventionally. It does not exist ultimately. Why do we do this? Because my reason, my sense is, I'm not sure, I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's because we have such black and white thinking. It's either this or that. We don't really see any gray area. And to bring those two more, that it's not really this, it's not really that. In some traditions, emptiness is described as it is not one, it is not other. It is not this, it is not that. I mean, even in the Heart Sutra, it seems like it's nothing. It seems totally contradictory, right? It is not, it doesn't, in some traditions, in like the Nyingma tradition, for example, they describe emptiness as it lacks inherent existence. It does not lack inherent, it's not inherently existence, it's not non-inherently existent, it's not both, and it's not neither. It's like, whoa. Gotcha, yeah. This is a way of describing, it's something more, it's something, it's not, you see, because we just think one way and another way, it's very hard. In the Gelugpa tradition, it's described a little differently. The emptiness is the same, but we can use different words to describe it. Okay? So, I personally find that description in the Nyingma tradition personally a little confusing. But there's a lot of people who love it. And they get such a good sense. You see, the different scholars, the different masters of the past, not just scholars, the different masters such as Lama Tsongkhapa, well, first of all, the Nyingma tradition like Shantarakshita, Brahmasambhava, the Kagyu tradition like Milarepa and Mapa, the Sakya tradition, Virupa, and then the Sakya Kunjugyensen, I think it's called. Then the Giluk tradition, so Lama Tsongkhapa. These are all like the founders, if you like, yeah, the founding fathers. Not so sure whether I tell you the correct name about the Sakya, but never mind. So these founding fathers, they all understood reality, but it's beyond words really. And they put it forth in different way according to their disciples. So they all realize the same thing, but you can describe it differently. And it's just dependent on, and it's great there are these different traditions, because for some people one is more suitable for another one is more suitable. They don't contradict each other. Their words seem to be contradictory, but since it's merely labeled, we can use the word permanent and impermanent in different ways, and then like basically end up saying it's permanent in the Nyingma tradition and impermanent in the Gelug tradition. But what they mean is the same thing. Right? The meaning is the same. The words are used differently. So, in the Gelugpa tradition, it does talk about phenomena lack inherent existence. That's it. And it's not like saying they're not inherently existent. That explanation falls away. But there's still this kind of, it's not just this, it's not just that. You see, for an example, I'll give you an example. Before, when I asked you, does this truck, is it one with its parts or different with its parts? None of you ever asked me, since the truck exists, what is it of the two? Because I so much insisted in the beginning, if the truck really existed inherently, it can only be one with its parts or different with its parts. So sometimes people ask me, so now that you say the truck exists, is it one with its parts or is it different? It's none of those. It doesn't have to be. Only an inherently existent truck can only be one of the two. So, because we perceive inherent existence, we perceive either this or that. All the time. Only good or bad. Right? Either something is good or either something is bad. That's it. Either it's long or it's short. Can't be both. Okay? We don't see it's relative to phenomena. Okay? Yeah? I mean, actually, long is short. My arm is short also. Isn't it? It's short independent in relation to another arm. Okay? And it's long in relation to a child's arm. They're not contradictory. They're relative. Okay? But, no. This person is tall. It's not short. Just tall. Just inherently tall. We do that all the time. Bad, good, judge, right? We judge. Friend, like, dislike, don't care. Like, dislike, don't care. You know, people, when we walk into a room, very clear. Right? Like, dislike, don't care. We put these, like, it's just this one way. We're so narrow-minded. If phenomena were inherently existent, you would be right. Because they could only be good or bad. Couldn't be relative. There's no space for relativity. If they exist inherently from their own side, it doesn't exist in dependence on anything. It doesn't exist in dependence on my mind. We couldn't even perceive it, actually.
We couldn't.
No, we couldn't. And if it was inherently existent, either it would be one with its parts or separate. But since it doesn't exist inherently, it is different from the parts, but not independent, totally separate from the parts. It's one nature, it's of one nature. still separate. But we learn about this more. So therefore, I think my sense is like saying conventional truth, conventionally existent. Kind of using the same word, making it sound very similar, but it has a different meaning, allows us to understand that it's not just this and just that. Does that make sense? There's more of a gray area in between. So, therefore, what does it mean to be conventional truth and conventionally existent? Conventional truth in Tibetan is Kunsop Demba. Conventionally existent is Kunsop Tuyoba. You see, you hear the Kunsop? Kunsop Demba, Kunsop Tuyoba. Conventionally existent, conventional truth. Kunsop Demba is conventional truth. Kunsop Tuyoba is to exist conventionally. Can it wait, or?
I just didn't get what you're meaning by saying conventionally exists.
I will explain this. Of course, this needs to be explained. Of course. Yeah. I just said there's a difference. All right. So it's important to understand there's a difference between a conventional truth and existing conventionally. Has anyone read in advance?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Good. Please do that. Try to do that. Read in advance a little bit if you can, if you have the time. I mean, I know time is, you're very busy here, but I'm sure you still find the time. Read in advance a little bit, okay? Because everything is explained in here. For instance, the ultimate truth of the car is not a conventional truth, but exists conventionally. The ultimate truth of the truck is not a conventional truth, but exists conventionally because it is a phenomenon that is merely imputed. To be conventionally existent means to be merely imputed.
Why is it merely?
Oh, good. I like that there's someone really thinking it's not merely imputed. The ultimate truth of this truck is also merely imputed because it lacks inherent existence in itself. It's just imputed. We call it lack of inherent existence on the basis of certain parts, on the basis of the truck. You wouldn't have the emptiness of the truck if you didn't have the truck, right? So it's on the basis of the lack of inherent existence, we call it lack of inherent existence. It's not an inherent, absolute kind of inherent existence. Inherent emptiness. It's not an ultimately existent inherent, ultimate truth. So the ultimate truth of this truck does not exist ultimately.
So it's conventional. The emptiness is conventional.
It exists conventionally. It's not a conventional truth, but it exists conventionally. Why? Because it doesn't exist, because it's merely imputed. Because it doesn't exist ultimately. Because to exist ultimately means to exist inherently.
So nothing exists ultimately.
Nothing exists ultimately,
So
absolutely.
everything is empty. So we are, the truck and me are the same thing.
Same in the sense that, not the same thing, but you share a characteristic. Just as the truck exists conventionally, you exist conventionally. Just as the truck does not exist ultimately, you don't exist ultimately. Just as the truck is a phenomenon, you're a phenomenon. Just as the truck is impermanent, you're impermanent.
You're a truck.
But you're not a truck.
As the truck is me.
No, we share, we have characteristics we share with other phenomena. And the one thing we share with all phenomena is we're all conventional. We're just merely imputed. And we don't exist ultimately. So you see the difference? It's actually not that hard to understand, but it's for the sake of confusing us a little bit. We really need to pay attention here. We need to, if we make it too easy, that's another reason, I guess, to make sure we keep our attention. Because if I use the word conventional, what did you say? Conventionally or conventional truth? What was it? Oh, one exists, one doesn't. Okay? It's also to keep us focused. I don't think that is the main purpose, but there's still, to not get, to pay attention. That would serve another purpose, right? Because if you don't want to lose me, you better pay attention when I use these words. Conventionally existent, conventional truth. What is this? Conventionally existent or conventional truth? Both. Both, it's both. Okay. What is the ultimate truth of this truck? The conventional truth or conventionally existent? Okay. What is a conventional truth? Conventionally existent or conventional truth?
Conventionally existent.
The conventional truth itself, what is it?
Inherent of it.
Is it both? Okay, it's both. Very good. What is the truck? An ultimate truth or ultimately existent?
It's not
No, what is it? What of the two is it? Is it the truck? Is it an ultimate truth or does it exist ultimately? Quick.
Exists
None. Very good. Neither. What is the emptiness of this truck? Does it exist ultimate? Is it an ultimately existent phenomenon, or is it an ultimate truth?
Ultimate truth.
Very good, you got it.
What was the answer?
You tell me, without anyone asking. The emptiness of this truck,
Yes.
does it ultimately exist, or is it an ultimate truth
The emptiness
of this truck?
ultimately exists.
Does it
No,
exist
it's an
ultimate?
ultimate truth.
That's it, that was the answer. Good. Okay. So therefore, if you look at this drawing here, therefore everything that exists, conventional and ultimate truth, both exists conventionally. The opposite of existing conventionally is to exist ultimately. Right? That's exactly what I said. Clarification? Or yes?
You said the truck is ultimate truth.
The emptiness of the truck is an ultimate truth.
So the truck is also ultimate truth.
Why is the truck an ultimate truth?
If the emptiness, so then it's supposed to be. If the emptiness of the truck is ultimate truth, it means that the truck is. No, maybe I don't.
Okay, an ultimate truth means something that the way when it appears to a direct perceiver, there's no disparity between how it appears to a direct perceiver and how it actually exists. So the direct perceivers that perceive the truck and the direct perceiver that perceives the ultimate truth of the truck, they're different minds. Okay? Even though they're connected, you're absolutely right. I think that's where you're coming from. The truck only exists because there's the ultimate truth of the truck, and the ultimate truth of the truck only exists because there's a truck. In that sense, you're totally right. Okay? You're totally right. However, they're still different phenomena. So one is deceptive and the other one isn't. This is the real nature of the truck, actually. It's its deepest nature. It's the deepest nature of this truck. The truck appears, so let's just take it on a practical level. To us, this truck appears to be inherently, truly existent. But how does it really exist? On its deepest level, it lacks an inherent existence. Therefore, that is its ultimate nature. The temporary nature of this truck is, it's a truck, it's impermanent, performs a function. These are temporary kind of natures. But the deepest kind of nature is lack of inherent existence. Does that help a little bit? That looks like an Indian yes. But I'm not sure, was that an Indian yes or an Israeli no? It really looked like an Indian yes. Like the Indians. Yes, madam. Of course, madam. What was it? Was it a no?
An Israeli no.
An Israeli no, okay. All right. Let's see what I can explain. Let's go on and maybe it will be answered in the course of it. Okay. Therefore, everything that exists, to exist ultimately means to exist truly or inherently. Since whatever exists is empty of existing truly and inherently, there's nothing that exists ultimately. Okay. Therefore, object of knowledge, existent, phenomenon, they're all the same. So an object of knowledge, existent and object of knowledge are the same thing. Okay? There's different names to the same thing. Something that exists, a phenomenon, and object of knowledge. Don't think of a phenomenon as something like oh, that's a strange phenomenon. Phenomenon means something that exists. Okay? Existent is something that exists. Object of knowledge is the same thing. So these three are the same. There's more synonyms. Synonyms. You can only say synonym. What's that? Can you say again the word?
Synonyms.
Synonyms. There's more synonyms for existent. Okay. Object of knowledge, existent phenomenon, and existing conventionally. They are equivalent. Okay. So there's like a little drawing. Existent. Are the arrows still in the right place? Yeah. The arrows kept moving. Existent object of knowledge, existing conventionally. These are all referred to conventional truth and ultimate truth. And existing ultimately, there's nothing that exists ultimately. Okay. So the word conventional of the term conventional truth refers to concealer ignorance, as we've heard. Remember when we say conventional truth? What does the conventional refer to? It means a concealer, right? So, whereas when we talk about conventional here, we here talk about conventionally existent. The term conventionally existent refers to a conceptual consciousness which imputes conventions. The word conventional has a different meaning here. Okay? All right. So it's just conventional means different things in different contexts. Therefore, even though the car, for instance, is a conventional truth, so this truck, it does not exist conventionally. In fact, this car's inherent existence, what is the car's inherent existence? Does it exist conventionally or ultimately?
Neither.
Neither, very good. The inherent existence of this truck exists neither conventionally nor ultimately. Okay? Okay. So all these exercises are very much to train the mind. You see? You train the mind, you make it more supple. And if it's difficult in the beginning, I promise you, nothing, like Shantideva says, everything we do, we familiarize ourselves with, it gets easier. Everything becomes easy. That's part of the training. This is why we study the debate. We sometimes have to do word games, just for the sake of training the mind. Okay? Training the intelligence. It's all part of training the mind, making it more supple. As she was saying, doesn't the mind have to become like a special mind? Yeah, you make the mind more special, more supple, more flexible. Yeah. Can it wait, or is it just a clarification? Yes, please.
Is there no ultimate existence, like the mind of a Buddha?
Does the Buddha's mind exist ultimately? No.
No?
Really imputed. Seems to be more real. Actually, some things seem to be more real than others. I can kind of, and there's a lot of examples in the scriptures. For example, there's times when you perceive anger to be not to be truly existent. But love seems a little bit more real, right? Or objects out there, all right, they don't exist inherently, but the mind does. Some things are easier to understand. Their lack of inherent existence. 100 shekel, not inherently existent, easy to understand, right? Or Israel, the country Israel. It's a good example because the borders change all the time. So, therefore, what is the country Israel? The borders change. So what do you call Israel? It keeps changing. So a country that is merely imputed, we can see, right? Other countries, okay, the borders are more defined. It's a little harder. But then things such as a cup, where in a lot of countries, cup, it's just a different vocabulary used, but it's still cup is cup, right? Whether it's cup, I don't know in Hebrew, how do you say cup? Kos. Whether it's kos or cup or tasse or mok or whatever, right? In different languages, but the same concept really, maybe just a different name. Okay. So this seems to be a little bit more real. And then when I talk about the mind imputes, that seems to be more inherently existent than the cup. And then when we look at the mind, the good states of mind seem to be more inherently existent. The bad states, less. And the Buddha's mind, definitely inherently existent. Not even the Buddha's mind exists inherently, merely imputed. But not just created. It doesn't mean like I create the Buddha's mind. Oh, I wished I could do that. Okay. So the basis of the kappa. All right, now I go on. I'm sorry, this is just what Lama Tsongkhapa talks about. So I know it's hard. Let me go on a little bit longer. Okay? So, now, what do we need to understand? How do the two truths relate to everything? How does the world relate to the true truth? How do I do all the phenomena, everything that exists?
Have them both, everything.
Yeah, that's true. That's what I was going to explain. You're right. Everything that exists is either a conventional truth or an ultimate truth. So you can basically divide phenomena. If you had like a chart, you say phenomenon or existent or object of knowledge, and you make an arrow, conventional truth, ultimate truth. Right? We could do that. Okay. But we always, traditionally in Buddhist philosophy, you have a basis of category, and then you have a category. Okay? A basis of the category. So I could choose anything, phenomenon, I could say existent, it can be divided into the true truth. I can say object of knowledge can be divided into true truth. I can say everything that exists can be divided into true truth. But here, there's a specific reason for saying the object of knowledge is the basis for the true truth, the basis of the category of the true truth. And that will be explained why. Okay, just bear with me. So, the object of knowledge is equivalent to existent phenomenon, object of comprehension, and so forth, can be categorized into the true truth, conventional and ultimate truth. Therefore, object of knowledge is here described to be the basis of the category of the true truth. Why? That's a question. Why do I not say existent can be divided into true truth? I say object of knowledge. Why? Okay, but before I answer that question, so in Sanskrit is Shneya, I'm not sure I've said it right. Tibetan is Sheja, or pronounced, well, Shebya is kind of written that way, but Sheja. She means to know, Ja means an object of knowledge. Something to be known, object of knowledge. So, in English, yeah. So from the sutra of the father and son's meeting, there's a specific sutra that actually indicates that. So thus the Tathagata, the Buddha, comprehends the conventional and the ultimate truth. What is to be known too is confined to this conventional and the ultimate truth alone. These in turn, the Blessed One, the Buddha, clearly perceived, clearly knew, and excellently actualized to be emptiness. Therefore he is referred to as omniscient. That is the kind of quote from the sutra. Now you may notice, it's a really weird way of saying something. It's a very ancient way of saying something. So when the Buddha taught, this is important. You see, the essence, the essential meaning of the Buddha's teachings never change. But the teaching methods change, the words change, the way something is expressed. So the Heart Sutra is a very good example. No one would teach like that. But when the Buddha was around, oftentimes the Buddha conveyed something through the form of a discussion. Right? Two people discussing something and the Buddha just confirming it. And whatever was discussed is said to have been through the blessing of the Buddha. And moreover, there was a way of kind of like honoring the Buddha, speaking this really high kind of language. So this is an example of that. But basically, this is still the source for what I said previously, that the object of knowledge can be categorized into the true truth. So, the meaning of the sutra is that the Tathagata is omniscient because he simultaneously comprehends the true truth. And also the category of the truth is definite in number, as Shuni said. Are you also Shuni? Oh, Shuni. Shani, oh, sorry. Israelis are really hard for me. Shani, Shuni. Shani, as Shani said, everything must be one of the two. Right? Okay. So, absolutely, because they're definite in number. There's not like a third truth. Either something is a conventional truth or an ultimate truth. There's no other possibility. So they're definite in number. Because an object of knowledge is exhausted within this twofold category. This means that they're not more than two truths, and that the true truth can be condensed into they cannot be less into anything less than two truths. It's not that they can be all condensed in one truth. It's impossible, right? Okay, that's very, but it helps us to understand their relationship a little bit, those two truths. It's obvious, but still it helps. So therefore, whatever is an object of knowledge must be one of the true truth, and whatever is one of the true truth must be an object of knowledge. Okay, this is why the category, and this will be explained in a moment, the category of the true truth is said to be object of knowledge. For us to understand that both truth can be known. They can be known. They can be understood. Some people, some masters of the past have said that ultimate truth cannot be known. I've had that perception. And to counteract that, many masters now, or not just as now, but also in the past, have pointed this out. The true truth are object of knowledge. They're both objects of knowledge because it's the division, the basis of the division. That which is divided is object of knowledge. There's a conventional truth that's an object of knowledge, and there's an ultimate truth that's an object of knowledge. Both can be known. The Sutra of Father and Son's meeting says, what is to be known too is confined to this conventional and ultimate truth. And then the Sutra definitely presenting such news says, there's the conventional and likewise the ultimate truth. There's never any time a third truth. So it just reconfirms. This is very typical, a very typical way of teaching. So far it's been more kind of 21st century way of presenting this, but to go back to also the traditional way of taking quotations and reciting them, just kind of proving the point. Okay? So of course not just quotations, it's also the reasoning, that's more important. But a quote doesn't harm, basically. Okay, so likewise Chandrakirti says in his auto-commentary or self-commentary on the supplement to the Middle Way, never mind what that is exactly, not time to explain, but anyway, it's a certain text, a very important text. Likewise, whatever other minor truth there are, these two one should ascertain only as belonging to either of the two truths. So even the other truth, like Four Noble Truths and so forth, they all can be categorized into the two truths. So, here, even though object of knowledge and existent are equivalent, object of knowledge is explained here to be the basis of the category of the true truth. The basis. That is, object of knowledge is that which is categorized or divided into the true truth. It is explained to be the basis of the category of the true truth in order to avoid the wrong view that the ultimate truth is not an object of knowledge. That is to say that the ultimate truth cannot be known. And there seem to be scriptural quotations that seem to suggest that. So that is exactly what Venerable Rita actually said during the meditation today. When she said, sometimes explanations seem to be contradictory. There's a seeming contradiction. Okay, but there is actually the original contradiction. But there seems to be. So remember the quotes I gave you previously? Now I have a quote from the same text where it seems to be saying something different. From the Sutra of Father and Son's Meeting. The convention is seen by the Tathagata as that which the world is involved with. What we everyday kind of objects, that's the conventional. That which is the ultimate is inexpressible. It is not an object of knowledge. It is not an object of detailed knowledge. It is not an object of thorough knowledge. It is not shown. Right? Seems to be saying the opposite. And then Shantideva, commenting on that exact passage, says in this Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, the ultimate is not an object, pardon? No. The ultimate is not an object of perception of awareness. Awareness is declared to be conventional. Right? So, how do we explain that? What does that mean? Okay. It means, the actual meaning is that the ultimate truth is not apprehended by a dualistic direct perceiver, by a dualistic mind. It's like actually a non-dualistic mind. Though we say we realize emptiness conceptually, we actually don't realize the actual emptiness. It has to be perceived directly, actually. Okay? To really get an understanding of emptiness, it needs to be perceived directly. So therefore, it's a very special mind. It cannot be known by an ordinary mind. That is the meaning of this passage. It's an object of knowledge, but as she pointed out, not just any ordinary kind of mind. It's a very special mind. And it takes a lot of training to get that special mind. I have an incredible explanation. I get an incredible explanation by the Buddha himself. Let's say the Buddha really came to talk to me and explain it to me. I wouldn't explain it because I don't have the mind to perceive it. I don't have that mental capacity. Okay? So, but it doesn't mean it is not possible. It's a special kind of mind. It's inexpressible. In a sense, the Buddha could never express it exactly the way it is because then you already selective. You use words and concepts. Yes. And I have a... Pardon?
If you use words, it becomes you.
Yes, absolutely. If you use words, it's already right away, the words convey something dualistically, right? Because they're mixed with concepts and the actual thing. There's already a dual there. There's already a distance to what it actually refers to. I mean, actually, all the time, I can never convey. If I say... I don't want to say hummus again, I want to say creme ball. On this example, creme ball. If I say creme ball, it never conveys what creme ball is. Right? I could use the word and explain it. I could never explain the actual experience. Actually, everything is inexpressible in a way.
Yeah, I think this said even the time of the Buddha is weak to explain it.
Pardon?
There's a quotation where the teacher says that even the tongue of the Buddha is weak to explain.
Yes, very good, beautiful. Even the tongue of the Buddha is too weak to explain. Yeah. So the Buddha, I mean, it couldn't be any better. Still, it's not possible. Yeah. Okay, let's leave it at that. Do you have any questions? Okay, all right. You go ahead. You haven't heard from me.
Before you said that...
Oh, should we pass this around or should we pick up on it? And I know these, but I have to read those. So I love yeah.
Not this.
Before you said that a mind that realizes the ultimate truth must realize the emptiness of emptiness.
The mind that directly realizes the ultimate truth, yes, must realize the emptiness of emptiness. Directly, like a direct experience of it. Yeah.
So my question, what is the object of negation when a mind realizes the emptiness of emptiness?
Very good. What is the object of... Okay, now I'll need to check here. What is the object of negation when a mind realizes the emptiness of the truck? Very good. So many people said it. Okay, the emptiness of the inherent existence of No, sorry.
The
The
inherent
inherent existence of the emptiness of the truck. The inherent existence
The lack of inherent existence.
no, what is the object of negation?
Ah, yes.
It's not the lack.
Of the emptiness.
yes,
The lack of
inherent
So
inherent
the
existence.
inherent existence of the
lack of
emptiness of
existence.
inherent existence of the car.
Yeah, okay.
Truck.
okay.
Does that make sense?
It doesn't make sense to me because emptiness itself is a lack of inherent existence.
Yeah, it's
But of what?
Inherent existence of the truck.
But not, I mean,
Do you change your object of negation? You begin with negating the truck, and then you negate the negation?
lack of inherent existence of the lack of inherent existence of the car. Yeah, you're right.
But the lack, it's not an object.
Yeah, it's very
It's not an object that has